We're here to talk to you today about human trafficking and what we have seen in an increase in this crime in our community. The last school year we had incidents where school-aged children, high school students, were victims of this crime, and we want to give you some tools and some advice to help to keep this from happening from your child. Debbie.
So I'm going to give you a couple of flags and indicators to look for. One by themselves does not mean human trafficking, but if you begin to see these come together, you might want to reach out to law enforcement, to without permission, to your local school, and find out if there's something else that you as a parent can be doing or how we can help partner with you. So I'll give you a couple ideas of things that would be flags of a potential victim of human trafficking. They have an older boyfriend. You have a 14-year-old girl with a 22-year-old boyfriend that she's bringing around or she's talking about. Maybe your child is carrying multiple cell phones. You provide one as a parent, and then another one shows up in her possession. This is common in trafficking. It could be called a burner phone provided by the trafficker. If your child has a second cell phone that you haven't provided and you don't know where it comes from. Maybe your child has injuries, bruises, things like that that are unexplainable and you're not really sure where they've come from, or you don't feel good about the explanation that your child is giving you. That could be an indicator of trafficking. New tattoos or branding. Branding is a part of human trafficking, shows ownership and control of a trafficker over a victim. And so if your child has a tattoo, daddy is a big one that we see. Barcodes, dollar signs, horseshoes, all of these can be indicators of trafficking. And then maybe a sudden change in your daughter's wardrobe, a very sensual, seducing attire where she used to not be, or we've seen in some of our cases where she'll dress very modest during the day, but then she'll go and make a wardrobe change as she goes out. Or maybe you see high-priced items, handbags, or fingernails, things like that, and you know that your daughter can't afford them or you don't know. Those would be some flags of a potential victim.
Some websites you need to be aware of is Backpage.com. It's a website that's commonly used for prostitution and human trafficking, and also one called Nightshift.com. Pay attention to what is on your child's social media accounts and what their internet history is. If those are websites that you see on their history, it's something you need to question your child about. And if you suspect that your child is being trafficked, you need to give the Modesto Police Department a call. You can call Crime Stoppers if you believe this is happening to another child that you're aware of. And you also have resources without permission as far as counseling services and so on and so forth.
Maybe you could share some of those apps that we both know we hate that youth use a lot today.
An app to be aware of is Kik. It's a text app that you cannot trace by looking at your cell phone bill, and be aware that you can also use fake phone numbers through Google accounts and things like that, where you won't be able to see the text messages or phone calls coming up on your cell phone bill. If you see on your child's phone things that like that, it's an indicator that you need to look into and question your child about.
I'd like to give you a couple of the tactics so that you might understand how a trafficker will target a victim. Detective Anderson and I both know that anyone can become a victim of human trafficking. And so we really want to encourage you as parents, as the school year starts, do not sit back today and say that could never happen to my child, because we both have talked to parents where that tragedy became real for them. And so we just want to get you the information out, let you know that it's local. Here's an idea of what a trafficker might do and how they target. One of the things that a trafficker will do will separate their victim from their family and their support system. So if there's an older boyfriend or a boyfriend who's come into your family unit and is systematically isolating your daughter, separating her from her friends, taking her away from family events, that could be an indicator. Controls your child through texting and cell phones, constantly needing to know where their location is, maybe having them on GPS, texting them to want to know who they're hanging out with, who they're speaking to, that kind of controlling through a cell phone piece. Dependency and obedience to that relationship through fear. As parents, and I know as a mom, and you're a father of a young daughter, but as a mom, we just can sense those types of things. And so trust your gut. If you see a few of these indicators or flags that we're talking about today, ask the questions, make the phone calls. And then bonding, we call it emotional or love bombing, where they have emotional highs and emotional lows. So overwhelming your daughter with love and affirmation and beauty and gifts, and then we'll flip that on them to the idea of you're dirty, you're nasty, nobody wants you, I put up with you, those types of things. Manipulating your child emotionally in the extremes. Those would all be tactics of a trafficker. And I have worked with a victim and heard the story of a mom who invited this boyfriend into their home and spent time with the family, all the while he was trafficking their daughter under their nose.
It's important for parents to know that this is happening in our community. It's also important to know that this affects every socioeconomic background. It affects every race. It affects every corner of this city. This isn't something that happens on one side of town and not the other. This has happened to parents who have been heavily involved in their kids' life, and obviously it's happened to parents that are not involved in their kids' life. This has happened to student athletes. This has happened to young girls who dated a boy who they thought was a good guy. If you believe this is happening to your child, please call the Modesto Police Department and we will do everything in our power to assist you.